How we all doing? Um, Hope you all having a good day. Um, how are you all doing today? I don't think I really ask you guys how you all are doing at the beginning of my video. Sometimes I just get to talk, and that's very, very rude of me. How are you guys? No, no answer. Anyway, onto the topic. I've never really been a fan of counterfeit movements or trends, to be exact. Not because they're loud. Loudness doesn't really bother me. It's because they rarely last. They rise quickly, yeah, and they fall quietly. They come making a lot of noise, but then they fall without a trace. And somewhere in the middle, they convince people that they were something solid all along. There was something real. And I've seen enough to know that these things burn fast. If they don't burn, they don't burn long. And I'm tired of watching people give their hearts to something that doesn't last, that's not foundational. Something giving their hearts to something that won't give it anything back. You know, they're allowing sparks to feed them. But what we really need in this world is real fire, lasting, warming, refining fire. Not flashes of heat that disappear by morning. I've seen the rise and fall of trends dressed up as purpose. I've seen so many people that I love fall to a gimmick, a counterfeit movement, as I called it earlier. Um, Waves of meaning moving through timelines, videos telling us how to live, you know, hashtags trying to keep you sanctified, trying to keep you holy in whatever regards it may contain. But meaning that depends on attention isn't meaning at all. It's just noise. It's pretty curated noise. And I'll be real. I used to be one of those people. Um, I wanted to be a part of something. I wanted to be bigger than the moment. I wanted to be the moment, to say the least. But not every moment is worth holding on to. And that's what I really had to come into agreement and realization with. Not every moment is meant to grasp who you are fully. Some moments are meant to pass, and that's okay. Some moments are not meant to feel like home. And I think sometimes we try to build something that never belonged. You know, I've always craved something deeper. But since the time I was young, I've always craved something deeper, something rooted, something that can't be turned into an aesthetic or watered down for views, foundation. And that's something that I found in my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, of course. But that's what I'm after. Is it showing? Is it showing? It's like, no, me too. Something that won't shift after the culture decides to done with it. Something my pastor always says is that if you follow the crowd, you'll never get crowned. I want something that can build a life on, not just a following, not just a vibe, but something that is long lasting, something that is so secure in itself that it doesn't need man's approval. Something that is so rooted in something bigger than itself. And this hunger that I've spoke about, it's never really left. Even when I tried to silence it. I spoke about it in previous videos about how I wanted to be seen. I wanted to, be that guy, that person that everybody had eyes on. You know, Even when I tried to silence this hunger within me, it found ways to speak. It found ways to let me know that it's still there. And it keeps saying, just be real, just be. I think as a generation, we forgot that entire essence of how to just be. I think we forgot how important presence really is. You don't have to be that person. You don't have to be the it factor wherever you walk. You don't have to try to be anything other than you. Like I've said before, You don't always have to be visible. You don't always have to be the next big thing. Sometimes a room just calls you to be there. Sometimes a room just calls you to exist within it. And that's all you have to do. You don't have to be bigger than the room. You being in accordance with what the room is calling you to be is just enough. Don't fake it for a feed. Don't chase applause. Don't chase something that's not foundational. Don't chase something that'll run away from you as soon as it's done sucking every bit of life outside of you. Don't sell your soul for a seat at someone else's table. Be real, not the app. That I didn't even download that. Let me get back on topic, bro. I need to stop doing that. Anyways, authenticity doesn't rush. That's one thing I've really noticed. It doesn't compete. It doesn't over explain. It doesn't need permission. It just is. And that's what I mean by you don't have to always be visible. You don't, while you're being that person, you don't have to take anybody else's spot. You're already secure in yours. That's why authenticity is so rare. That's why it hits so hard. Because we live in a world where whatever works, whatever gets clicks, whatever sells is what you have to do. Here I am making a YouTube video. Am I being counterproductive? I don't think so. I mean, I'm not really. Anyway, I feel like we perform now more than we live. We perform way too much. I saw a TikTok on what was it? The freaking male performative contest. That joke was hilarious. But back to the topic. We present more than we breathe. And then we wonder why we feel exhausted by the end of the day. You're not living, you're pretending. You're pretending to be okay. You're pretending to be healed. You're pretending to know what you want. And the crazy thing is, we get rewarded by pretending. We get rewarded by pretending. But here's the good thing about that. The soul knows what you're doing. God knows what you're doing. And if you so happen to, listen to yourself while you're quiet long enough, if you sit with yourself long enough, you will be able to hear that small voice that is underneath the noise, that is telling you to just be real, not the app. Just be real. um, that voice that is telling you those things, it won't shout. It'll be clear. It won't repeat itself, you know, but it will always remain. It's a voice that you'll never forget because it's your voice. And I want to tell you something that it told me. Is that you don't have to be a savior for everybody. One more thing it told me is that there's more than this. This was when I was conforming, trying to exist within a connotation that was placed upon me by societal standards. There's more than performance. There's more than that pressure. There's more than the shallow smiles and, the surface answers. There's more to you. But how will we ever find it if you don't want to just be real? Not the app. Not the app. There's a kind of peace that doesn't ask for an audience. Um, there's a kind of peace that just lets you sit unrequited. There's a kind of joy that doesn't need proof. And that's the one that I want to chase. That's the one that I am chasing. That's the one that lets me know that there's more. There's a kind of real, not the Instagram feature. I need to stop doing that. There's a kind of real that lives within you, even when no one is watching, and that's the one that I want. That's the one that I pursue. That's the one that I want to curate. That's the one I want to present. It's not really presentation. I'm just being me. Yeah. Yeah. I want to wake up knowing that I didn't sell out. I want to wake up knowing that I didn't bend someone to fit someone else's mold. You know what I'm saying? I want to wake up glad that I put my best foot forward. My best foot forward. You know what I'm saying? My foot along my path. I didn't take someone else's boot or footprint and lay it where it didn't belong. I want to look in the mirror and see the version of me that didn't compromise, that didn't fold to fit at someone else's table. And that is the person that I'm actively pursuing. The one who didn't choose the trend, the one who chose wholeness over hype. I want to know that even if nobody else clapped, I was still worth listening to because I spoke from the soul. And when you speak from the soul, there's this, I don't know, there's this rush that comes over you. I don't know if y'all feel it, but I be feeling it whenever I be recording. It's like this thing that rushes over you when you stop needing validation from places that never understood your voice to begin with. When you stop seeking those spaces that you had to beg and plead and cry for them to hear you. You start living from the inside out and not from the outside in. You start building from the foundation up. And that is a building that can nest so many things. That is the building that you don't have to rush furniture in. Hi guys, so I don't know what is happening to my camera. I have no clue what is happening. It just glitched. But one thing I want to finish up with, that was almost done, is that you are always enough. You're always enough, just the way you are. You know, you may not be finished, you may not be perfect, but you're real. You're authentic, and that's all that really matters. And I think that's the journey. That's the essence of the journey. Not becoming more impressive, but becoming more of you, more honest, more rooted, more whole. And you deserve to be celebrated for that. You deserve to be seen for that. And that's not the type of world we live in, but I pray we can curate our own community, or I can, through the help of God, that you can just come and be here. You don't have to perform to be loved. You don't have to chase moments to feel like you matter, because you already matter. Why is that? Because you're here. Thank you for watching. Wait, I still haven't got it. You know what? I'm gonna just. Does it work? Is it working? Yeah, it's working. Love you all. Bye bye.